Good morning. We do a sponsor session. That's important, a sponsor session. So if you think of, hey, what are these guys doing in terms of marketing? We don't do so much marketing here. We just want to give you some kind of ideas, some kind of theory about to solve data quality problems. And of course, we relate that to our product called Header.io, where we have a booth over there and we are a gold sponsor here. I think the second time, but it's my, I think, 10th time at the SQL Bits, so I love SQL Bits. Myself, my name is Oliver. I'm a data platform MVP. I'm leading the German data community. We do a conference in Germany, not as big and cool like the SQL Bits. It's called SQL Conference. Will be end of September, start of October this year near Frankfurt. So we always love to be in this kind of community events. We do a data Saturday in near Cologne in June, end of June?
Yeah,
end of June. So we are community guys, so we know it's always a little bit difficult to balance that between sponsorship and content. So we try to give you some kind of really valuable information in terms of data quality and balance that a bit. So I have with me
hi, my name is Tillmann. I'm also data platform MVP, and I'm the leader of the user group in Rhineland, which is the area of Cologne and Bonn, and with Oliver together, the organizer of the Data Saturday in this area.
Yep. All right. So let's start with data quality. First of all, what is data quality? And of course, I think every one of you has data quality problems, I guess. If not, you can raise your hand and say, hey, goodbye, this session is nothing for me. So I don't know. But in general, data quality is something that is related to things like, on the one side, people, on the other side, of course, technology, and of processes that you establish in your company. And that's something we have here on the slide, which is something that is a sentence, or I think I copied this. Many, many years ago, Microsoft had a product called Data Quality Service. Any one of you is still aware of that, or you're too young? We are the old guys here, so you don't know data quality. It was part of SQL Server, and is it still? I think it's still in the installation of SQL Server on-prem. But unfortunately, Microsoft didn't invest much in it, and this kind of product is not really applicable in the actual time with the actual technology, etc. So our session will go a little bit onto what you have to do or what you can do with our product, but also how to integrate that into your processes as such. So if you have data quality problems, most of the time, this kind of sentence based on a slide deck of PM at that time, he said, bad data means bad business. That means you lose money because you have these kind of data problems. And data problems can come from certain areas. So first of all, they can come from data capturing. So maybe you have, whatever, a sales system or a CRM system where sellers just enter addresses of their customers and maybe do some typos, or maybe are lazy and just fill in only half of the information that they normally have to do. Also, you can have data quality problems in processes where maybe something is going from one system to another, and maybe the mapping is not right and you lose some kind of data, or you maybe have any kind of issues with your code page or whatever is from a process perspective. You can also have that in the architecture, because maybe you have a mainframe system that maybe has a complete different setup than your system in sales, and maybe these systems are running in parallel. So you have a customer base on one side and a customer base on the other side, and it's not synced, it's not updated, and you get a lot of problems if somebody tells you, hey, what is our customer base? And then we said, oh, we have to look into our ERP system, we have to look in our CRM system. Who is the correct one? Yeah, so things like master data. What is the right master data that can copy it into the data quality problem in this as well? That comes to the part of definition. Yeah, so what is a customer? What belongs to a customer in terms of attributes? Yeah, if you ask a sales guy, you get a complete different answer than maybe if you ask somebody from logistics or something like this. And both people may be right, but in the end, for the company, it could be an issue because they have different ideas of doing things like this. You have things like people misusing stuff because they are in a logistics system, but they want to use the logistics system as well as something to cover any kind of additional data. So in former customers of us, or no, existing customers, but former SAP systems, they use a kind of field that is related to a railway station where you get normally your packages in, and they use this for customer classification. Yeah, and in the end, nobody really understood, okay, what is this kind of field for and where we find our customer classification? Yeah, so these kind of errors come to the point where you say, hey, maybe the usage of your systems and the usage of the data is wrong. Yeah, so you're using the wrong fields and you're using the wrong attributes in your database that are doing this stuff. Yeah. Then you have the problem of expiration. What does it mean? Data, of course, and you know all of that, is something that is time related. Yeah? So if you have, for example, customer data that is outdated, and you want to do a marketing campaign, or you maybe want to do any kind of shipment to the customer and you have outdated data, that reacts immediately in terms of a problem that maybe your parcel will not reach the customer, or maybe the communication to the customer will not be possible because the information about the address or the email is already outdated. So there are different elements that come into the point where data quality problems can occur. And that makes this thing quite complex. And on the other side, there are some kind of what we call dimensions of data quality that are important to understand when you see this kind of areas where data quality problems can happen. We can also look into the dimensions of how they are set up. So let's start with things like completeness. Yeah? So I mentioned that you maybe have a customer database used by sales and a customer database used in logistics. And maybe the data is not really completed because there are separate systems. You do not have a complete set of information about your customers in your company. So completeness is one of the dimensions that we're looking to data quality problems that we would try to achieve. To see exactly, hey, we have the 100% view of the customer and the complete customer record is there. Then we have the problem of uniqueness. Yeah? In some of our projects, we have merged systems in the past where maybe there was a merger of companies, but also a merger of stuff that ERP and CRM systems, for example, and you want to merge this kind of data, you get the customer from logistics, you get the customer from sales, and then you have maybe 2 times the same customer in the record. Why? Maybe there is a difference in the customer number, maybe there's a difference in the name, etc. So you're producing duplicates in it. And if you want to do some kind of transactions on this kind of data, you maybe fail. I think we see something in that area later on in our examples. Timeliness, this is something that already mentioned, that you definitely need to check if your data is really actual in this case. Validity. is also a dimension of data quality. And if we look at validity, we of course need to check, hey, if we maybe have a customer classification, is this customer classification something that people can do maybe manually, and they have to classify that by, let's say, letters, A, B, C, or something like that. And somebody says, oh, I don't know, this customer is really ugly. This customer gets an X or a Z or something like this, which is out of range of your normal customer classification. You need to understand, hey, this is a wrong value. Or maybe the value is correct, but it's a synonym for something else, which you normally do your analysis on. Yeah? So validity is also a very important dimension of data quality. Yeah? The other thing is accuracy. Yeah? It comes a little bit with the relationship to validity. Accuracy means that, we need to be clear that the data we get is trusted data. So that, for example, in your organization, nobody uses the Excel spreadsheet from the marketing guy that he left on his computer when he left the company, and you have no idea what this data is all about and if this data is really valid and is approved to be used in maybe any kind of communication. So also this is something that is a dimension that you run into and you need to control that your data is accurate in this kind of way. The last thing is consistency. Yeah? So is the data consistent? Again, this sample of, hey, we have this logistics system, we have this CRM system, and both are completely different in their structure on customer or maybe on a product. Yeah, it's not just related to customer, it reflects everything that you have in different domains in your organization. So from a product, maybe a P&L or customer records, whatever you like. All of that is reflected always, and you try to have this kind of consistency in there for your data quality dimensions. Now, when we go into our projects where we work on data quality with our clients, we always have this kind of data quality optimization workflow, as we call it. But it's something that you always do, sometimes also more or less intentionally when you're working with data and you want to achieve a better data quality. So the first thing you want to do is you want to profile your data. You want to see what is in there and how the data is structured. Yeah, you want to understand, okay, this is what we want to have and how the data is as such. And then you go a next step and you see, hey, if this data is not well defined, I try to standardize this. Yeah, so for example, doing things where you have a name and a surname in one field and you want to restructure that so that you have to split it in forename and surname or something like this. Yeah? You try to standardize this and make this consistent over the whole data set. Why do you do that? Because you want to avoid any kind of duplicates in there as such, but to find the duplicates, you first need to standardize that. And then you try to clean the data in terms of correct the data, etc. And then you do the matching and you understand, okay, how can we identify duplicate records, how can we identify wrong fields, etc. And then you maybe do a merge of the systems that have different data in it, and based on your standardization now, the system is able to find the duplicates based on any kind of fuzzy logic, etc., etc. Yeah. In the end, you do things like cluster and enrich. That means, for example, if you cluster data, so for example, for any kind of information, for any kind of duplicate records where you maybe create your golden record with it, and having that, just one single record for a customer, you are now able to say, hey, I just want to enrich the data with maybe some kind of third-party information, like, for example, anything like from Dun and Bradstreet, any kind of financial classification, etc., etc. You are now able to do this, and you only, maybe for Dun and Bradstreet, you only pay once the record that gets enriched instead of 3 times before you did the standardization and the merge. So this is quite important in terms of the process. And every time you do things like this, you should remember this kind of process because it will help you to make this kind of data quality quite efficient. Now, if we look into something like, just mentioned that earlier, that Microsoft currently doesn't have any kind of tool set available in their standard services on Azure or in the SQL Server offering on-prem. What we try normally to do is, of course, we always go with the technical areas and the way how Microsoft offers our products. So, for example, now we have to look into the Fabric landscape, which, of course, you have things like lake houses and so on. And if you look into something like, where is data quality in there? So we do not have an offering from Microsoft, but of course we need to understand where in this normal process of data engineering we put data quality processes in. Of course, you say, hey, Ollie mentioned something like data capturing. Yeah, normally a data quality process should start at the start of the process, protecting people to enter something wrong. Most of the time, you do not have the possibility because maybe you cannot change this system because maybe it's an old system or so, or you do not have the rights to do things like this. So you get the data. And if we look into something like this on the screen, you see we have some kind of structure of our data lake. You maybe know now with Fabric, Microsoft really pushed this kind of medallion architecture. Honestly, for us, medallion architecture, if we call it bronze, silver, gold, it's not relevant. You can also say, oh, in the middle we have the washing machine. If you know as a data engineer what is in the washing machine, what will be done there. So for us, it's like we have a structure of raw, quality, and curated zones where we, from left to right on your side, where we enhance the data well, this is the data value chain, so to say, and where we enhance the data quality. So we get the data in raw. That is, from our perspective, the data is in an unclean status. Yeah? It has to be checked if everything is okay with this kind of data. And then we have a quality zone that maybe on your normal project is just the part where you do the transformation. But for us, it's the point where we try to achieve that the data quality gets in the best way that we as a company would like to see. Yeah? And there we have all these kind of transformations, and we have different areas where we say we have things like a cleaning functionality, we have things like merging functionalities and also enrichment sections in this kind of data lake. And then we push that into the created zone where we say, hey guys, from a data quality perspective, now this data is the best quality we can get. We never get to 100%, that costs too much, but this is the best quality we can achieve in our company, and these are our trusted data assets that we have. And if we look into this, you see exactly where we put our workflow into it, because this workflow applies in this kind of quality, or you maybe call it silver medallion architecture. Yeah. And with this...
But if you come by our booth, you will see that we have a roll-up with data observability.
Yeah.
We had a session on Thursday, also a sponsor session about data testing. So what you can also do with Head.io, with our software, is you can also do data testing, data monitoring, data observability. So it's not only the quality, cleaning, validation, enrichment stuff, it's also the part where you can monitor your complete processes.
Exactly, exactly. And We also did another session yesterday on when you have your data already in, let's say, Power BI, where there's a cool new feature that Microsoft, a cool new library that Microsoft offers, which is the Senpai, or the semantic link library, where you can connect out of your, let's say, notebooks that you normally use for data engineering. You can connect to semantic models that are already on the right side, but maybe you do not have any kind of impact on it, and you can analyze them as well, so you can do the data quality and data testing afterwards, which is not cool for the process, but maybe necessary because it's just something that you have in your organization. Oh, what do we see here? We see
A nice report. I created a fantastic nice report for you. Is it okay? Can we go with that?
I would say no.
Why? It's our data.
My nationality dimension is completely crap.
What? It's Netherlands, and we have Austria and Belgium.
Yes.
What's the problem?
No, it's not good. There's something like DE, and there's something
Germany.
like Germany. Yeah. But that should be together.
4 and 3 or 7.
You don't have these problems, or no? Nobody has these problems. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Maybe we should show you how to solve these problems and how to do this in our application. Do you have this kind of black developer setting?
Oh, yeah. But I will just jump over that.
You know, I'm more the business guy, and he's more the development guy. And the development guy says, "Oh, we have to have this kind of black theme." Thank you very much that we get that in Power BI.
But look what we can do with the black part.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's cleaned.
So fast.
So fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe you should show how this will work.
I will show how we can do that. Showing you a little bit of head.io now. So I think what you saw before in the report is our simple failure or invalid data you can have, but usually everybody will see that in their projects. So we created in head.io a concept which we call knowledge bases and domains to verify your data. So this is our management application. I will zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So in head.io we have a management application, and in this management application you can define how your data should look like, what is valid data and what is invalid data. And what you can see here is at the beginning it's a small dashboard for one project, which is called SQL Bits. Inside of this project we have 3 different knowledge bases, and they have an overall score of 55%. So our data quality for this project is not so good, it's 55%. You can see here that we have done 217 executions, and how many rows we have per execution, and so on.
Maybe just step in for, because you just said, oh, we have a score of whatever. A score? A score? What do we do with a score?
You have an overview about your data, how you can trust it.
Oh yeah, because based on, he just mentioned it, yeah, we do all these kind of things and we get out of this a score. The score as such is the concept of, hey, we want to see something quite easily and repeatedly easily to understand what the quality of my data is. Oh, there's a question on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is there any kind of possibility back to the operational or transactional system? So if you discover something that the data quality is bad, is there any kind of possibility to send it back? With our product, yes. You have the possibility because we also give some kind of information about this kind of scoring metadata. You will see it later on. Yeah. I know the question, and the question is a little bit political, because most of the time what we cannot achieve, we can do a system that discover data quality problems. We can do a system that can solve the data problem as such. It's always the tricky bit to get this back to a transactional system. So maybe you have an SAP or any kind of old AS400 system, etc. There it gets tricky to get the correct data back. Yeah? But our goal is first to understand this and to make it repeatedly identifiable to get this. And this is exactly what you show here, that we can see exactly the score of what we see as a data quality.
Yeah. But we will also show a little bit how you can not completely solve it to get it back into the SAP system, but how you get the data which is wrong and how you can verify it and then work with the data. Okay, so now I'm jumped into the project and inside of into the knowledge base, and inside of the knowledge base you again see a score. You see at the bottom some charts which shows some business rules, and the blue ones are the valid ones, the orange ones are the invalid ones. And then inside of a knowledge base we have domains, and with a domain you can just think about like a column. So a knowledge base is like a table, domains are like columns or entities and attributes, so however you call that. And per domain you can define all the details, how your domain is structured. And the basic information is schema information. Which data type do you have? How long is the string? Is it a key domain? Do we have a member search in it? I will come later to that part. And other meta information which we can work inside our product. And then we have a concept which we call member. And that's something Oliver always likes.
Yeah.
Here you have the possibility to enter information to your domain for valid data and for synonyms. So as an example here, we have F, and F is a synonym of female. So each time we validate the data and I get an F, it's automatically corrected to female. And you can maintain these lists here in our product, but you can also use an external Parquet file, point to that, and the system will load the data from this Parquet file. It should have a structure, a special structure we need here for that, but you can use it also from an external file and don't maintain it here.
And maybe just as an important information, this kind of information, as it is also available externally or can be maintained here, is normally not something you as a data engineer should do. This is something that people who are domain experts should do. So call it a data steward or somebody that understands what is applicable for that domain. So it's not always the task of the data engineer to do this. And our intention in the product is to say, hey, we also give this to somebody else that is maybe from the business without technical capabilities who can just do it here.
Yeah.
And then we use this from a data engineering perspective further on.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, are you transforming the data here?
Yeah.
So if I type in the synonym, it's transformed. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Repeat the question. If we transform the data here, yes, we are transforming the data here. So if really an F comes in, we will transform it to female, and then in the output data you have now female in.
Yeah.
And also,
but very important, we keep the original value.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's
we
correct.
know
we'll have both
that
values.
we change that from one value to the other. So it's nothing that in the end will be black box. So if you have an auditor or somebody who would look into the data, you will definitely see, okay, at that stage in the quality zone, we changed it from value A to value B based on the synonym that we have in our application.
And what you can see here is we have activated the member search with an algorithm called Levenstein. So we have, I think, around 15 different algorithms in the product, distance algorithms and phonetic algorithms. If somebody entered female without an L, the system will detect based on the Levenstein algorithm that this is female and will automatically change it to female. So even if you have typos in it, the system can change that. You have also the possibility to enter invalid information. So if you have maybe somebody entered here like, I don't know, airplane, and you every time get again the sex code airplane, and you can set it to invalid, and each time this record will be invalid. And if you have other domains which much more information, and you know that you always get new values into the member search, you have also the possibility to re-import or to import from a run new values. So you don't have to enter always new values. The system is able to import values which you don't have in your member list. You can import it and then set it here to new synonyms, to set it to invalid, set it to valid, so that your knowledge base will learn as more often you use it. Yep. This is all the part here with the domains and how you structure that. Then we come to the business rules. This is a really simple business rule. It's called email address. I will zoom in a little bit, and you can see here directly. This is a business rule email address. It's not directed to a data quality dimension, so you can add each rule to specific data quality dimensions that you have it in your statistics. And you see the condition here has certain regex expression, which we check the email. This is really simple, but we can also do something which we call rule flow or rule book. So you can build a flow of different business rules so that it will be validate the first business rule and after that the second one. I have another example later, or I can show it directly in the New York taxi trip. So where you can see that we can build much complexer business rules, complex rule flow where the data flow through, and each business rule will check the data, will validate it, will transform the data again, and the rule after that will work with the transformed data. And so the data will completely flow through the rule.
Yeah, maybe also some business information to this. Because if we look into data quality problems, and I think you can agree, data quality problems sometimes are not as easy as somebody thinks, because they are related to, hey, if value A in this field could be correct, if value B in another field has this kind of status, for example. Yeah? So sometimes you need to cross-check this. Sometimes you have things that need to have a flow to be really valid in this case. And this is something we try to achieve with this kind of rule books, that you can create these kind of complex rules. And as you see, they are looking still a little bit techy, I have to admit. Yeah, but the intention is to say, hey, we give the possibility that the data engineer and the data steward can work together and can define that from a business perspective and not writing some whatever Python code or SQL code to achieve this kind of cross-check. Yeah.
Yeah, and just here also in this information, you see there are different colors here. So if you have a business rule which is blue, it checks the data, and if it go to the left side, it's valid. It go to the right side, the data itself is invalid. If you have a business rule which is orange on the left side, if the data goes to the left side, it's not directly valid. It's a logical rule which can just split the data. So maybe if you check for different countries, you will have say, okay, I have a special rule for the UK and one rule for Germany. It makes no sense to use a rule and set the data to invalid just because it goes the right path. So you can use logical business rules for that to split the data somehow. Okay, going back to this demo here, rule books, dataset rules after that. So the idea here is that with the business rules, you can say, okay,
I do that on row level.
Yeah, you do that on row level, and you can say, okay, it's this example is not the best I see here at the moment, but you can say maybe, okay, null values somewhere are allowed, yeah, and it's not a problem to have null values in my data set. Even if I have 20% of null values, everything is fine. But if at some point I get 80% of null values, then I get somehow a problem. And this is something you can check with the dataset business rules. So here you can define business rules on the whole dataset to say, okay, if an aggregation, maybe here the age minimum value is greater than or equal to 18, then I had a problem. Here I can check it directly that it's not allowed on a record level, but I can also do that on a complete level.
Yeah. So your data quality assumption would be to say, yes, I know that I will not get 100% of my data quality because it's not possible, but I want 80%. And this is over the whole data set. And that's the important thing to understand, that these kind of rule sets are available with the product.
Yeah. Then we have something which we call run. Oliver mentioned that you can get your data from your ERP system or from your CRM system. And from our perspective, it makes no sense to define the knowledge bases then completely new. Because if I defined how my customer should look like, then it should be the same for the CRM system and as well for the ERP system. And with runs, I have the possibility to create a run. Here I have it called head.io Notebook Power BI demo, because that's what we have done here. But this could also be your ERP run. And then you have another version, which is your CRM run. And if you later, I will come to that, how you use it, how you use these business rules, you can say, okay, this is for my ERP run and this is for my CRM run. And then you have the different statistics for the different systems. And you can always see the overall score for all different executions. But you can go here, click on one specific execution and see directly for this execution, how was the score. You see here how many total records were in, how many valid records, the processing time, how many business rules we checked, and you see the information here for all different domains. For the different business rules, you see which rule failed and which was valid, and you can see that here directly for each run.
So the run and the history gives you an understanding. Is your data quality getting better or getting worse? And when it's maybe getting better or when it's getting worse, you can drill down, so to say, and understand what are the implications. Yeah? Is it a rule that maybe get fired and gets the data quality down, or is this maybe something in the knowledge base that causes the problem?
And as I mentioned before, this is our management application. Everything you have done so far is just defining how your data should look like, and you can see how the business rules has performed, how good is your data. But we didn't see how we can use now these business rules on top of our data. And that's something, sorry again then for the black mode here in VS Code, but I hope, are you able to read that somehow?
No one.
They say yes.
Okay, good. You are all developers. Okay, fine.
Okay, so what you can see here is VS Code with so-called polyglot notebooks. We have for head.io 2 different runners at the moment. One is for .NET, the other one is for PySpark. And with these runners, you can use the business rules directly in notebooks on top of your data. And here in this example, we load via .NET a Parquet file. And after we loaded the Parquet file, I will just go here, just a moment, there. This is a part where we use head.io. And this is similar to what we are doing in PySpark. So if you're using that on Databricks, on Synapse, or on Fabric, it's the same amount of columns, of rows you have to define to use head.io. So you load your library, you define new header instance, define the URL to the service and the API key. You define the project name, the knowledge base, a mapping, so that the incoming data from the naming of the columns you map directly to the domains. Where we have here used data, we use the library Parquet Verleger, which has the data in it. Usually you pass here a data frame, maybe in Databricks or in Fabric. You just pass here the data frame, and then you start the run. And if you have done that, you will get a small widget inside the notebook, and it's the same as in Spark environments. You have this widget here, you see your score, you see the domains and how they performed, the results of the business rules, of the data set rules. Okay, there's a bug in it. Now my system crashes.
Yeah. But anyhow, as soon as you get ready again,
Yeah.
the important thing to understand is the application is designed that we bring the data quality rule set and the knowledge about how good the data should be or how our data should be to your data engineering processes. And it's not like, let's say, in old times and with other systems where you maybe have to extract out of your normal data workflow or out of your data lake the data into this quality system, then the quality system will work and then sends the data back. We do it differently. We say, hey, we ship you the metadata and we give you a runner that runs on your machines. So that means, for example, if you're working with Databricks or you're working with Fabric and you have a lot of cores because you do a lot of data, maybe 1 billion records or something like this, yeah, we use the compute power of exactly your system to do it. We use also the parallelism of doing that instead of that you need to power our data quality solution with a lot of cores and a lot of costs. Yeah, so this is something that happens on your side.
Yeah, and after we process the data, and I will just only jump over the widget before, you have the header get data method, and you can get the data back into a data frame. And then it's a part where you can work with the validated and also cleaned data. So now you have everything in a new data frame, and you can go here, and we have some examples where you say, okay, query by invalid rules, and you can get all the data from the data frame which were invalid by the specific rule email address or age. Or you can say, okay, please give me only the corrected data. And you can slice so the data to the data you need to process it further. So if you say, okay, I like only to have the valid data, you can just query the data and process it to your final destination. If you have specific invalid data and you're not able to correct that with header.io, you can process it manually later on. Just store them somewhere on a file or on a database, and you can process it. And if you have cleaned data, you would be able to pass this data back to the data owner from your SAP system, and he could be able to import that to the SAP system, so next time it will be valid. So here you're really able to slice through the data and work with the information we generated during the validation and enrichment processes. Okay, that's the part here. We'll go back to this one. What else do we have? I showed here that we have larger rule books you can see here. But what you can also do is working with the data is always fine, but it's nice if the data or the system can inform you at some point how or what happens. So for that, we created added events to the system. And with events, first of all, you can create a sink. A sink could be one of these. So you have Event Hub as a sink, DevOps, SMTP, Teams, or if you like, Twilio and send WhatsApp messages. So these are all events you can create, or things. And then on top of these things, you can create events to send information to the things. So if a business rule failed, maybe you can get a WhatsApp that your data is not correct. Or if the data was processed, you get a team message that your data is now validated.
Not just you as well, your business users or your data stewards that should be informed that there is an issue with the data quality.
Exactly. Or what we also have is, you see it here on the upper right side, edit version. Header.io has a small versioning system. We always have a live version and an edit version. And so usually, if you process the data, you will always use a live version. But if you edit a version, you can set an extra flag to just work in one of your notebooks with the edit version to just check if the new business rules are correct. And if you publish then the edit version to the new live version, it's also a trigger or an event. And then maybe you can directly trigger an Azure Data Factory pipeline and execute the new published version directly on your data to validate it in production about something. Yeah, this is also in there. Then, as Oliver mentioned, with the fabric part, we'll just show it shortly here. I will just scroll a little bit down to that.
So this is fabric, yes?
This is fabric, yes.
So it's nicely white. You can have it in black as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This is now in fabric. It's yeah, as you can see here, it's similar lines of code to just how you can execute it in Fabric or in Databricks. And the idea here is, you see, there is an we are using here our data, use data, and this is called Spark DFDAX. So I have here a data frame which is called Spark DFDAX, and we showed that yesterday in another session. You are able in Fabric to execute a DAX statement in one of these notebook cells, and then you are able to validate with head.io the outcome of this DAX query with your business rules stored in head.io if the data is correct. So you can directly validate the data that's not in the quality zone.
Yeah.
Then it's something which you can do if you go to production in the curated part to validate the data which you have published there and all the information.
But if you don't have any influence to what happened on your semantic model, as I said earlier, sometimes the data engineer doesn't know what's happening in this magic semantic models because the citizen developer creates via Excel files some kind of great things, some kind of great measures, etc. And now the whole company is using it. Yeah, and you say, oh, but we do not can test that from a data quality perspective with so semantic link and Fabric, for example, you'll be able to do that with header.
Exactly.
You have something else, I think.
I have something else.
Because
just
we have 3 minutes.
I know. Just to recap it a little bit. So the idea is with head.io, you have on the one side your management application, where data engineers and can define business rules together with the business or the business alone. And then you as a data engineer can use the defined business rules in your pipelines, Databricks, Fabric, and so on.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
No, I just hope that you come to the point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how it works at the moment. But what we do also is we are creating now a new add-on for header.
You see it the first time.
Yeah, you would see it the first time now. That we are also integrate that as an add-in in Excel. That if you just have your data in Excel, you can use your table, validate the data, and then you get the validated data also in Excel, and you can click on one of these rows and you see on the right side what was the original data, what is now the data, is it valid, is it invalid. We have all this information in Excel so that the business can also work directly with Excel and not only with Spark environments or with .NET.
Exactly.
And one additional important information is
yes.
we always talk about our management environment or something like that.
Yeah.
That's because it's our product.
Yeah.
But if you use it, everything will be deployed in your Azure subscription.
Yeah.
So it's not a software as a service solution. It's deployed in your environment, in your tenant, and you use it completely in your environment. We have other customers which are working with private endpoints, managed identities, and all these security stuffs in Azure. Everything is supported with head.io, and with that you can use it secure in your environment.
Exactly. So you have seen that we have a tool that applies to our theory of data quality. We have a tool that gets this kind of theory and the rule sets to your data instead of shipping it through your whole infrastructure. You mentioned that our tool is put into your Azure subscriptions, so it's running securely in your site. And with our new functionality, we are not so data engineering focused anymore. We also offer this for just interactive work with the data steward. With this, we are through. I hope This gives you kind of impression what Hedda is capable. If you have questions, we are at the booth. There are a lot of German suites, and we don't want to take them back to Germany. We had a lot of stuff last year at SQLBits, so come to our booth, grab all the chocolate, etc., and yeah, have a nice Saturday here at SQLBits. Thank you for your audience.